Hi, thank you everyone for joining. We're just going to give a couple minutes here, and then Miriam's going to kick us off. Thanks again for attending. Just going to give everyone a couple minutes to show up. Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone. Miriam, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar with Cloud at Work. And also thank you, Tyler, for your time today. So just to notice that the transition to the cloud has been a hot topic for some time now. And at DNA, we've noticed a constantly increase in demand. And that's the reason we collaborated with Cloud at Work to organize this webinar. We've noticed two things actually about Cloud at Work. The first thing is the performance, and the second thing is the high level of security. And we wanted our clients to know more about Cloud at Work and take advantage of the offers. So everyone is muted, and you have access to the chat if you'd like to ask questions, and Tyler is going to respond to the questions at the end of the session.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you everyone for your time today. I'm really excited to talk to all of you. This is actually the first time I'm giving this particular presentation. We've done a lot of studies and analyzed the marketplace in the recent months. So today we're going to talk a lot about trends. We're going to talk about what is the new modern workplace and the challenges and opportunities that arise from that. The big theme that you'll hear today is we have to change because everything around us is changing, and we have to do the same. So just to reiterate what Miriam had said, the presentation is roughly going to be about 45 minutes. All phone lines are muted, and if you do have questions, please type in those questions into the designated box, and I promise you we'll answer every one of them at the end. So my name is Tyler Bauer. I'm the practice director of cloud and hosting services at Cloud at Work. It's a very long title, I know, but I helped start the company back in 2017 and really have driven the vision and growth as well as the technology for the business from inception. So just a quick background on Cloud at Work. As I mentioned, we were founded in 2017, and we were born to essentially create the absolute best experience in the cloud for Sage end users and Sage partners. When we analyzed the market and looked at the marketplace, we saw there were a lot of enterprise infrastructure as a service companies, managed service, cloud service companies out there, but they weren't necessarily focused on the application. Then flip that around, there were Sage cloud companies out there. However, they were cutting corners and not focused on security, availability, redundancy. And so we set out to pair those two together to really create a world-leading Sage expert cloud organization. Fast forward till today, we trailblazed the Sage Strategic Hosting Provider Program, where we are the only certified cloud organization for Sage 100, 300, X3, HRMS, fixed assets by Sage. We go through audits every year from them, and we're the only ones in North America who have data centers residing in the U.S. and Canada who are in that program. Really great working with all of our partners like DNA, but we work with about 90 different partners across the ecosystem, including ISVs. So a lot of focus on that Sage experience, and DNA is one of our top partners. Just fantastic folks, and can't say enough great things about them. So basically where we're at is we're grappling with the change and dynamics in the market. Inflation, rising energy prices, shifting exchange rates, geopolitical supply chain disruptions, security breaches, they all erode trust. And on top of that, we're having talent shortages and increased labor costs along with that. The other piece to look at is that security is increasingly becoming insecure. So 50% of cyber insurance premiums have increased from last year. That's a lot. The average transaction per month, so the average ransomware transaction is now $1.5 million. That's almost double what it was previous. 62% of employers are experiencing a breach due to a remote worker. So think about post-pandemic, and we'll get into the dynamics of the office, but post-pandemic, a lot of employers have embraced kind of the remote work philosophy. Some are completely back in the office, but definitely it is not the same pre-pandemic as it is post. And remote working and the technology stack that you're deploying can open up your business very much. The 66% of organizations are affected by ransomware. So think about that in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through a vendor, whether it's through a customer, whether it's yourself, you're being affected by that ransomware, those ransomware attacks and cybersecurity attacks. And there's 130 different strains of ransomware, different types, different methods. That's a lot, right? Think about your life 5 years ago, right? Probably the last time some of you have possibly done a complete redesign of your IT infrastructure and your IT deployment methods. A lot's changed. Even the office has changed, right? I remember, cubicles and everybody coming in having offices, and then we're transitioning to the open floor plan where it's co-working space and everybody can work from anywhere, and then it's let's just work from home. The question is, what's next? Is virtual reality or different types of virtual workspace going to be the new office? Are we going to come full circle and go back to going into a direct physical location? We don't know, but a lot of trends are pointing no. A lot of trends are pointing towards really the freedom and untetheredness of the evolving office. So some of those trends: 20% of employers now are offering a 4-day work week. I'm not trying to lobby for any cut in work time, but I'm just showing you the stats. 24% of workers think 2 years is normal to change jobs. So there's no more gold watch. Employees and talent that we're recruiting are no longer thinking long term. They're thinking short term. 60% of employees are emotionally detached from work, and 16% of those companies or 16% of companies that operate fully remote, you're seeing a decrease in that. 98% of workers want to remote work at least some of the time. That's a lot. So the employees are looking to have that freedom. And in order to attract the best talent, you may need to change policies or embrace those changes and trends. 74% of employers are experiencing a talent shortage, and 62% of workers seeking a new job for higher pay. 12.7% of workers that are fully remote. So hybrid is still, I think, hybrid is definitely still probably the most dominant, but the trend of 98% of workers wanting to be remote at least some of the time tells you that that trend is working towards and working upward. So not only has the employee and landscape and the design of our office changed, which is important for IT, but also the IT landscape has changed. So our organizations, we're moving much faster, and all of the industry pace of the transformation is accelerated as a result of the pandemic because it's made us think differently about our business. But our existing IT platforms prevent the agility that we need, and if possibly not in every case, but maybe we haven't revisited or redesigned for the agility and growth that we're getting. The infrastructure is changing. So 95% of new digital initiatives are projected to be on cloud by 2025. A lot of companies that I talk to, they ask me, Tyler, where do we start? Security, from 93% of company networks can be penetrated by a cyber criminal. These are stats that we're getting from security analysts as well as research analysts at IDC Gartner. But in order to invest in security and compliance, it's resource intensive. And really where I see a lot of companies investing in security isn't necessarily security, but it's assuming that you're going to get impacted, being able to recover from it, or redundancy, which isn't necessarily where you need to be investing. So things like disaster recovery and backups, those are important. Those certainly aren't a security or compliance plan. 63% of high growth companies use hybrid work models, but how can we scale and uphold our compliance policies and security policies if we're losing control of people coming into an office? A lot of questions to be answered. So all in all, computing needs have evolved. Security and regulation, industry standards, government regulation, IP security, customer data, it's getting tougher. Outside industries like the insurance industry are dictating our security policies. Federal law, state and local law are dictating how we handle data. The elastic workforce, there's more M&A now and private equity now than there's ever been. As well, employees that we're investing in that we think are going to be long-term are actually thinking short-term. And contractors and partners are more prevalent in the as-a-service world. We have remote employees. Most of us have some, if not all. It opens us up where employees may want to work from an Apple device or work from a laptop or work from their own workstation or an iPad, BYOD and mobile. We have vulnerabilities from those remote employees. They're connecting from unsecured networks, either on the road or at their house. So now computing and IT is now forced to manage or to at least acknowledge that endpoint, that house or that home network or that remote network on the road as a vulnerability that could bring threats in to the home data center. As well, we have very specialized workloads. So design and engineering apps, legacy apps, we're doing more dev tests, and we have direct result or a direct need and want of better customer service. From a technology demands perspective, organizations need to be able to adopt technology that enables secure remote work regardless of the device or location. We need to reanalyze, revamp technology to be more responsive when facing unprecedented changes. And we need to be open and evaluate cloud solutions for how we can deliver not only better security, but also scalability. And we want to implement solutions that are cost optimized. So this was kind of leading up to us making recommendations and giving you insight. But that's really where we are. We're essentially very different than we were 5 years ago. And a lot of companies that I'm talking to haven't necessarily done the proper redesign that they may have with their applications or their business process as they into their technology workload and the way that they're consuming technology. Their platform or the way their base, their foundation isn't built for the house that they want to build. So we're seeing a lot of companies going back and saying, I forgot about the foundation. We need to build the foundation first. Quick look at adoption. So from a cloud computing standpoint, both this is across the board, Azure, AWS, cloud at work. We have a very agnostic approach to clouds. We represent Azure. We have our own data centers across the US and Canada as well, do some work in AWS and Amazon. So take a very agnostic approach. But if you look at the landline telephone, I know we all remember the landline, and from 1903 to 2005, we saw, a very steady growth. But what I want you to look at is the decline. What happened in 2005 to 2018? People started using more cell phones, right? And the landline, though be it gave us the same end result to communicate with one another. The cell phone, we could use it anywhere on the go. We could be at our house, we could be at a friend's house, we could be, in the office, and the same device allowed us to connect to one another. Along with that downward trend, cell phone usage, smartphone usage, and slowly households with only mobile phones have hockey sticked up. Now, it's kind of a silly example because cell phones obviously are very much prevalent in our lives today, maybe not as much as they were in 2004 or 2005, but certainly today, I mean, they're everywhere. It's what I yell at my kids at the most to get off of. We need to be prepared and look at this as an example of how consumption can pass us by, right? How trends can just fall off a cliff. And this is mainly in our personal lives, but in our businesses, we certainly don't want to be transitioning while things are falling off the map, right? We want to be ahead of that and at least have a plan so we're not snap reacting. Cloud computing and virtual infrastructure as a service being managed by others, security policies being managed by others, is the cell phone. The landline is buying servers every 5 years, buying infrastructure and being the gatekeeper to your own security policy. Very soon, within the next year or so, security trends will increase to a point that companies can't even keep up. So it'll be nearly impossible to run your business and not almost have like a security business within it if you want to keep up. In order to get that level of scalability, it's going to be more cost effective and it's going to be easier to consume and easier to scale using a third-party company like a cloud service provider or a managed service provider. And by buying infrastructure in the near future, buying any infrastructure, it will be a major risk point for your organization and a vulnerability unless you're investing heavy capital dollars into it. Look at where applications are going. next gen applications are moving or are already built on the cloud. Microsoft Office. I'm sure none of us use a physical copy of Office anymore. We're all using Office 365, which is in the cloud. Slowly but surely, our entire consumption, our entire business consumption and personal consumption will be in the cloud. And so at that point in time, we need to ask ourselves, what is the most efficient and secure way to connect to those applications in the cloud? And it's actually the cloud, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So evaluating your options. So we have people, process, technology spinning out of control all over the place. Things are changing, people are getting hacked, servers are failing, companies are starting up, competitors are vying for our position, and we have decisions to make. And really, it's quite simple. We have three. We're using, I'm going to say, a legacy system. A legacy system does not mean a bad system. It just means it's stood the test of time, right? Sage 300, Sage 100 are fantastic applications. Sage is a fantastic company. It's just very difficult to write that application in a SaaS model. So that's why Cloud at Work exists, to provide a rock solid cloud infrastructure underneath of your Sage 300 application. Now, some companies are evaluating what we call next gen ERP, right? Those companies are out there, and I'm sure you're aware of them. But a lot of companies I'm talking to are saying, we're just not ready. We love our Sage 300 application, and we want to continue to use it. However, we're not 100% comfortable with the security process and the controls and the availability of that application that we continue to plan to invest in, and quite frankly is the most important part of our business. So you have really three options. You can keep doing what you're doing. You can invest in technology based on cycles. You can continue to buy infrastructure. You can migrate to a next gen ERP application, or you can look at taking the first step of digital transformation and moving your Sage ERP to the cloud. From there, you have multiple choices of cloud providers. You can do it yourself. You can look at other companies to help you, like Cloud at Work, obviously. And then you're going to get to the next decision, which is once you're in the cloud, you're going to say, wow, this is working so great. It's completely segregated from my company and everybody can access it and work fine. Why don't I do this for the rest of my business? And then you have to reevaluate for the other components in consumption of your business. Certainly something Cloud at Work can help you with across the board. We're not just here to help you with Sage, but our mission is to impact Sage end users and Sage partners to deliver the best experience in the cloud, period. That doesn't mean just for your application, but across the board. So even making no decision, it is in itself a decision. And you know your business 100% better than I do. Whatever decision you make, I'm confident it is a good one. I just want to make sure everyone knows that we're here to help. We're here to give you guidance. We're here to let you know what's around the corner. We can give you industry stats. We work with 800 to 900 different customers in Sage today across US, Canada, even globally. So a lot of insight into what's going to happen, at least from our opinion and experience, as well as what your options may be. So reasons to maintain, and again, we're calling it a legacy system, but please do not think I'm being negative to call it that, but it still fulfills a need. It does what we need it to do. We have recovered our initial investment. We are seeing the ROI on that investment, and it's working within our business. We're afraid that maybe our employees aren't going to embrace the change. They're going to feel disconnected, possibly. As well, we're risking that it could be a bad investment, although, you know, we could look at either side as that investment side. And we're scared or afraid of challenges of the data migration. So when to consider making changes. So if we're having vulnerabilities or security threats, cost of running the infrastructure and cost of running the application is too high. Accessibility is limited. And as well, it's requiring an excessive use of specialized and limited IT resources, whether you have your own IT resources or you're using a service provider or maybe a consultant. Either way, if we're finding that it's not working, that's when we can look at how to make those changes. The other big anniversary date, if you will, when we see a lot of companies making decisions is when they're doing an upgrade. When they're doing an upgrade, typically organizations need to purchase more hardware or make investments into changing their design and licensing of their hardware and software. So that's certainly a time we see companies analyzing. This is where Cloud at Work really fits. So we are what's called a hybrid IT provider, right? We have the capability to give you virtual desktops and virtual computing infrastructure across the cloud, and we can go through all the different product sets and skills that we have available. But for the 700 to 800 customers that we're working with, this is how they start. They call us and we're talking to our partners and talking to their customers about moving Sage to the cloud. And what that means is you have decided that Sage is too important and you want to move that to the cloud by itself while keeping the rest of your IT infrastructure in place. And not to say that what you have locally is bad, but maybe the investment to get comfortable with what you need around Sage is just too much, but the rest of the consumption, the rest of the applications it's acceptable risk that you're willing to take there, but you need to get Sage out. That is the first step that we're seeing with a lot of companies. And it's not uncommon. It's actually very common and it works very, very well. And we can show you that and give you examples of that. So these are generalizations of why to look at cloud to help you. And certainly, you know, I think we're very familiar with why cloud helps, why cloud is relevant in our lives. But really quick, to look at where we're at today, in order to obtain multi-layered security, on-demand scalability, improved efficiency, IT teams, all the talent, all the very top talent are going to service providers, getting automation and AI, flexibility of remote access, doing refreshes every year or every 6 months. These are all things that are pretty much in today's market for mid-sized business almost unattainable from a budgetary perspective. Things are changing not yearly or bi-yearly anymore. Things are changing monthly, daily, hourly. And one thing that could happen could change the trajectory of where all IT is going for the future. So you need to be finger on the pulse and really understand what's around the corner and what risks exist. Much different than it was before. So in saying that, I want to finish just with what Cloud at Work does. So I'm sure you've heard that we are a cloud provider, but in reality, we're a creator of simplicity. So when you talk about your Sage application and putting it onto a platform, we want to make it simple. So after we went through that whole slide, if you're sitting here saying to yourself, I think we should evaluate cloud, this is going to give you a good comparison of why we're different in the cloud space. If you looked at Amazon or Azure or any other cloud organization out there, what exists is a very, very great platform in AWS or Azure. However, most companies don't know this. You can't call Amazon or Azure to help you design it, secure it, back it up, or support it. So you're going to need a third party or a partner to help you manage that. So that inserts a layer. Then on top of that, you're going to have Sage, which is your publisher. However, most of you probably aren't just using Sage. You may be using other ISVs or third parties. So it adds to the complexity from a publisher standpoint. And then you have your business partner, DNA, who's taking all of those different components and bringing it together into an excellent business consumption package for you, the client, to consume. Now, while you've checked every box here, once you try to deploy this onto the cloud, at some point, you, the client, is going to raise your hand and say, hey, I'm having an issue. And the first question you're going to ask yourself is, who do I call? And you could call DNA, but maybe it's an Amazon problem. And you could call Sage and they'll say, no, call your business partner. And you could call the cloud management company and they'll say, no, call DNA. And back and forth it goes. You could call the right one the first time, but what about the next? The big thing is it's complicated and it's inconsistent. Today, CEOs and CIOs are looking for how to make it as simple as possible and consistent. And that's what Cloud at Work is. We are the cloud provider. We are the management company. We're the only organization certified by Sage in North America and in Canada and the US for all products. And we're directly integrated with your business partner, DNA. So when you go to have a question, you can call us. And if we can't answer it, we're going to hook right into DNA and we're going to bring you back a solution. We're not going to bring you back another problem for you then to try and get vendors together to solve your problem. And that's really what we sell. We are simplicity. That's what we are. These are a look at our data centers. We do have 4 data centers today. So 2 in Philadelphia, 1 in Dallas, and 1 in Ontario. They are tier 4 facilities that we deploy from. We actually guarantee 99.99% uptime in our cloud. So we actually own all of the infrastructure and solutions in our data centers. And so we have full control from end to end for your consumption. Now we guarantee 4 nines availability, which is essentially 52 minutes of unscheduled downtime per year. Now for the last 4 years, we've actually trended at 5 nines, so sub 5.5 minutes. So think about that. In 4 years of unscheduled, unplanned downtime, including networks, data centers, all those things, it's sub 5.5 minutes. Now, AWS and Azure, as an example, they're actually sub 5 hours. That's what they guarantee to their customers. But look at how much time it adds if you just drop one of those nines off. You go to 99.9. I mean, that sounds pretty good, but that's almost 9 hours of downtime a year. And for a lot of companies, that's just unacceptable. So we build virtual private environments for your Sage solution. So when you're putting it in our cloud, you're not sharing resources or sharing infrastructure, virtual infrastructure with other customers. You're actually giving you your own firewall, and we're giving you your own virtual network to operate your business with its own resources, licensing, and it's completely isolated from every other customer in our data center. Why is that important? Well, one customer's performance won't impact yours for one, and 2, if there's a security event in another location and another customer, it's completely isolated to that environment and won't impact yours. We mentioned that we're in tier 4 data centers. We're 24/7. We're custom built specific to your business and your needs today and tomorrow. So you have customizations, third parties. You think that your application is too big or too customized, we're the company for you. We can take care of that. Out of the box, customers get hourly snapshots of 48 hours and daily backups of 30 days, all of them in separate networks and in 2 separate data centers, if you wish. I know some customers that I talk to in Canada really prefer to keep all of their data within Canada, and we're actually able to accomplish that through Azure as well. So we have our data center in Ontario, and we can actually use Azure within Canadian borders to reside backups and snapshots, just to give you extra redundancy. We have security solutions like managed SOC, as well as DR solutions with a 4-hour recovery time objective and 1-hour recovery point objective. All of this being, in summary, we are a very, very serious cloud organization who takes your vulnerability and risk very seriously. And this is going to basically put a fortress around your Sage application now and for the future. So with that, I wanted to say thank you. Really, really appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, please type them in now. I'd love to communicate with you and chat with you. And if you need to get me, the best way to get me is through your account manager at DNA, and we can set up some time to talk. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Tyler. It was really, really interesting and very well detailed. So we're waiting on the questions to be written in the chat. I think we have something. Let's see. Oh, I don't see any question for now.
Okay, great. No worries.
Okay.
Well, listen, thank you so much again for your time. And again, if you need to reach out to us in Cloud at Work, I will make all of my resources available. Please reach out to your account manager or sales professional at DNA, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.